And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
There's not a lot that people really know about the French Revolution, but they do know that Marie Antoinette said, "Let them eat cake." All right, and that's a phrase that people say. But what if it was about eating cake? Okay, so this is a game about the French Revolution, but it doesn't take the French Revolution very seriously. All that you need to know is you get to chop people's heads off and eat cake. And one of those two things is amazing. So this is a game in which you're voting on people, and there's going to be a lot of voting in this game, and you're negotiating with other players so that, again, you can get the most cake. Here is how it plays. In this game, players are trying to get 40 pieces of cake. So you start with 2 of these. I'm actually not sure why you start with 2 because I can't find, there's no really way to lose cake. So you start with 2. 40 seems like a lot, but you'll notice that there's 12s. These go all the way up to 14. So in this deck, there are cards that are worth only 1 cake. There are cards all the way up to 14, and they all show pictures of delicious cake. There's also generals. So this deck is made up of cards. Now each player is going to get cards that match the other players in the game. So if you're playing with a few players, you'll have 2 for each player. If you're playing with a lot, you'll have 1 for each of the other players in the game. And there's going to be several elections per round. In an election, you're going to play a card and then flip that card face up. Before you flip the cards face up, you can argue and yell all you want. Each player has 3 pawns. That's how many votes your card is worth. As you lose pawns, your pawns will be worth less as time goes by. How do you lose pawns, you may wonder? Well, let's talk about that. The first thing you will vote for each round. Oh, and by the way, when you vote, that card has to stay out until you've used all the cards from your hand. Then you get to pick them up again. But anyhow, when you, the first election each round is you're voting for the head of the committee. That person will get the head of the committee token. Yay! You get to break all ties, which can matter. And also, once the head of the committee has been elected, they first get a Medal of Honor. Players will start with 3 of these, but there's more of them to go around. And then they can either give a Medal of Honor to somebody or take a Medal of Honor from someone and put it in the middle. This matters because then the second part of each round is the enemy of the revolution. This is not a vote. Whoever has the fewest of these medals is the enemy of the revolution. Unless there's a tie, then we vote amongst those players. And whichever player is the enemy takes one of their pawns and places it here on the guillotine, like this. Not so good. And now we're going to vote on the guillotine operator. So everyone votes again. Whoever the guillotine operator can decide to kill that person, which means that they have 1 less pawn, or they can show mercy. If they show mercy, well, whoever is the guillotine operator did not do their job, so they have to put 1 of these points back in. So keep that in mind. However, if you don't show mercy and you kill it, then that person gets 1 of these generals that are face up next to the board. They get an extra general, and they get 3 Medal of Honors. Their honor has been restored. Then we vote on the secretary. The secretary is going to draw a card from the pantry for each player in the game. So let's say there's 5 players. The secretary will turn these over and decide who gets what. They put a card in front of each player. What? You gave me the 3 cake, but I wanted the 6. So they do that. Then you vote on the food inspector. And the food inspector will decide whether the cake is good or not. If the cake is good, every card that player has been given by the secretary are given, you get to keep them. And you stick them down and you're trying to get 40. If they say no, the cake is not good, then all cake is discarded. However, they lose a point because, again, not helping the revolution. If you got a general, great, you just got a general. If you get cake and you're like, well, 3 cake's not much or whatever, you can always say, let them eat cake, get rid of your cake, and hey, you get an extra Medal of Honor. So that's always useful. Now, we've been talking about these generals. Why do you want generals? Well, at any point in time, you can play a general to discard all the votes for election and have a new election. You can also play 2 generals when the secretary puts cake out and you say, I'm taking that cake card, sorry. Or you can pay 3 generals, and when you play 3 generals, you decide what happens in a vote, period. So generals are useful to help with the voting. Anyway, you just keep going until someone has 40 cake at the end of a round. They're like, hey, I have 40 cake. And everyone else says, oh, man, because they wanted 40 cake. So what do we got here? Let's see. That is 22, 30, 33, 39, 40 cake. I won. But I think everyone who gets cake is a winner. Okay, there's a lot of good things about this game. The product, the way that Osprey is just getting better and better at this stuff. The artwork, the cards, the little guillotine pushing the guy through, that's fun. You will want to kill the person if you're the guillotine operator. The game is all about these elections, right? And so you're trying to talk to other players and say, vote for my person, and I'll vote for you here, and if you do that, and there's all this negotiation back and forth. And that is pretty cool. There is a couple problems with it. One, there's too many elections. It's election, 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 election. Nobody would ever vote if you had to vote this many times. Now, the game goes faster than you might think, and that's a good thing. It does not overstay its welcome, although it comes close. But there's some, so you elect, and I do like the fact that you can't vote for the same people all the time. You're pretty much forced to vote for everybody at some point. So eventually, you're going to win something. And each time you get to make some sort of choice. So if you're the head of the committee, you decide who you're taking a point from. If you're the guillotine operator, do I kill or not kill? If you are, the secretary, you decide who gets what cake. And if you're the cake inspector, you get to decide whether the cake is bad or good. I like that. I also like the generals. The generals allow you to be like, no, I'm sorry, but I'm going to win this for once, and I'm going to get to do something. The Medals of Honor is an okay system. They're all floating around. The Medals of Honor mean nothing except, that you're executing people. By the way, the game can also end if someone loses all their pawns, in which case whoever's most cake wins. But the Medals of Honor is almost like this currency that's passing around. That doesn't matter that much. It does matter to see who's who's the enemy of the revolution, but at the same time, and voting can get kind of annoying once pawns start getting lost. Like, okay, you have 3 votes, you have 2, you have 2, he has 2, I have 1, and it's just not as easy as saying, oh, there's 3 green cards, green wins. Not a big deal. So what am I saying here in the long run? I like the game, right? There's a lot of different election games that are out there, and this is not one of the best. This is just in the middle of the pack. So it's good. It's fun. It has some cute artwork, and I mean, I like cake, and I love the pictures of cake, and I want to eat cake now after seeing these. But is that enough to differentiate from everything else? Well, what does differentiate it? We got the generals. Okay, that's cool, using a general to manipulate a vote. We have the fact that you have to vote for everybody at some point before you get all your cards back. Okay, that works. And it works better with an odd number of players because it's hard to explain, because it works better with a grouping that's not 4, because you have 4 votes, although sometimes you vote for the enemy of the revolution, sometimes you don't. Soldiers can change a vote, so that doesn't happen. But sometimes you'll find that you always have your last card to play on one of the votes for a while until something changes. That's not a big deal. It's hard to explain, but you might notice it when playing. Sometimes it seems like you always have that one card left on the same vote. But be that as it may, those are interesting and unique things about this game that differentiate it from other voting games. I don't know if they differentiate it enough. I don't know if the negotiation here is really that deep. It's like, well, vote for me here and I'll vote for you later. That's really all you can say. Vote for me over here, and maybe I won't execute you next time I'm the guillotine operator. The most negotiation came from the guillotine operator and the person about to be executed. They're like, okay, I have your pawn's life in my hands. What are we going to do here? And so that's interesting, and it's funny, and it was pleasant. There you go. I guess that's the best word to say about a game based on the French Revolution. It was pleasant, but then again, that's what cake does for everything. Dice Tower Judgment, approved.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!